talking right now.
All right, guys, welcome to the Amp Guard of Alaska Board of Directors meeting for June 11th, 2020. The time is 8:00 p.m. Man, nope. It says 01 now, but when I started talking, it was 8 o'clock, so it counts. So we are on time this evening at 8 o'clock for a call to order. And the first item on the agenda for this evening is the acceptance of the previous meeting's minutes. Those that are in attendance, which would include Astra Winds, the Kingdom Prime Minister, myself, and Ravenstone. I want to just do a quick sound off. Does everybody agree that we had a meeting last time, that there were minutes and you got to look at them and they're not totally made up?
Yep.
Astra Winds. All right. Rolo, do you agree that the thing that you wrote is a thing?
Okay, sorry, yes.
Okay, we got Puppet. All right, Rolo?
Yes.
Okay, I say yes. Stephanie? All right, we'll take that as a yes. It was a super contentious thing, but we're moving on. So last week we had a meeting and there were minutes and we saw them and they did stuff. Cool. All right, the next one is more informational update for all of those that are watching or will watch in the future. COVID-19. We were originally intending on opening up and moving towards phase 2 of our mitigation plan, but that is not going to be the recommendation of the task force that's been assigned to give those recommendations. So we're going to stay where we are with phase 1 right now with some informational updates for you guys. As you may have seen, there is a potential exposure to some members of Astra Winds, and they are awaiting test results and some more information before we get to see or say whether there was actually a risk of exposure to everybody else that attended Amp Garden last weekend. So no fault of their own. It's a big world. There's lots of people, and it was bound to happen. So at this time,
it happened when we had only 3 cases. Like, that's just some bad luck.
Yep, it happened in a place where a few members were potentially exposed simultaneously. Hey John, thanks for joining us. I'll add you back into the list. We got started kind of sharply on time, mostly because of egging on from Rolo, so blame him. But we just accepted the previous meeting's minutes, so unless you have a real contentious reason to dispute that we had a meeting on the 28th of May.
Nope.
Cool.
Go for it.
All right, sounds good. So I was just giving an update on our status as COVID-19, and so just a quick recap. We were originally going to have a phase 2 plan, but we're going to hold on to that and not move forward with that plan yet, in light of some information and staying cautious for everybody, because there's been some potential exposures for members in Fairbanks.
So what's going on there is there's 3 people that work for a company, and in that company there was a mechanic that got COVID, and these guys are like laborers, electricians, and they've had no contact with the guy, so the risk is very small. And there was a investigation done by the army base, and all the people that they recommended to get testing, those 3 amp cutters were not on that list. But we are being extra safe and we're being extra thorough with our mitigation plan. But my personal thoughts are there's very low risk of exposure at this time. So let's just await the test and see what happens.
Not at this time. I think we're going to stay with phase 1 right now. There's also been notice of another very many steps removed potential exposure for some other members in some other parks. So we're awaiting some more information on those before we move forward. Before we say anything else, but it's everywhere. It's in the communities, and so we're going to stay extra cautious. And 2319. That's how long it's going to take.
Was there other parks?
There's a potential for other parks, a very a small chance at this point, but we're awaiting some results for to have a follow-up plan. So at this point, as far as like if you guys are working in industries where you need to do checks, I believe at this point you are not being exposed to people that are under investigation. We are enough layers removed at this point that I don't think legally you are obligated to do that, but I'm not a lawyer, so if you have questions, feel free to hit me up, but I'm not giving you an official statement. I'm just saying I think that we're still far enough removed that it's not a direct thing. Stephanie, do you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I just kind of want to reiterate. I know I've seen things going around that, oh my gosh, we're getting these huge spikes. Really, when you break the data down, yes, we're seeing large numbers, but that I just want to remind everyone that, and actually they're really not large when you start looking at the lower 48, but those numbers are mostly related to about 4 different clusters. Those clusters are, one, the Providence Transitional Care Center and Providence Extended Care Center. Someone messed up pretty bad there and exposed over 45 people. They did massive testing, which attributes to a bunch of those numbers. And they're actually now in the process of doing another round of testing there. So we might still see spikes from numbers there. There was a large household that they were all tested and was positive. There, down in Kenai, there was a large birthday party where there were several members that showed up actually sick and got everyone else sick. And then, of course, the ferry that docked in Homer had a semi-large crew. So with all those cases, that contributes to about 2/3 of the cases. The rest are around, 1 or 2 here and there. So just be aware, it's still here. It's still everywhere. It's not going around. This is why we're being vigilant. And if you are sick, I cannot stress this enough. If you are sick, please do not come to park. Do not put anyone else at risk. Stay home, monitor yourself, and come back when you're feeling healthy. So that's pretty much all I've got to say. I'm will gladly answer questions offline as well to keep this meeting kind of short. But we are aware, we're watching. Like I said, as Nalarian said, there is a very small exposure possibility. We're waiting for things before we move forward with that. But yeah, and then same with Astral Winds. It's kind of a wait and see game at this point as well.
I guess that's my cue again.
Yeah, I'm good.
I had a thought in the middle of that, but I completely lost it. It ran away from me. Sorry, was somebody trying to ask a question? It's just puppet shuffling around. All right, so that's the update. So we're not going to move to phase 2 yet. We're going to stay abundantly cautious, and yeah, and we're resisting the urge to shut everything down. So as much as some people might be frustrated that we didn't get to move to phase 2, at least we didn't swing the pendulum completely the other direction either. All right, does anybody else have any other agenda items for the board of directors meeting tonight? Oh, then on that note, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn for the evening.
Second.
Cool. Lupin Moon.
Yes.
Astro Winds.
Yes.
The one, the only, Rolo.
Yes.
And Ravenstone. All right, I say yes, and 8:10 p.m. We are done with that portion of the meeting. Thanks, guys. All right, next page over. Okay, quick check. Sorry, just tweaking who's who and where and everything. Astrion is not here, right? Yeah, don't see her on the list. Cool. Okay. Did we have a rep from DLC? I know Paige is out for now. Nope. Okay. I think I've got it all right. Cool. So, Council of Crowns meeting. First time on the agenda was the ambassador report. I'll just kind of like jump in there. There's some national slots open. So if you've ever thought of volunteering in any capacity on a more national or rather international level, let me or Astriana, also known as Gwen, know, and we will point you in the right direction. There's lots of different positions that are kind of open in different places. So really, if it's, you know, volunteering on a large scale like that has ever been your thing or ever been of interest, just poke us and we'll let you know what the full list is and find a slot for you somewhere. But there's lots of things happening. And that's really what's going on with the ambassador report. There's lots of other little stuff that's happening, but nothing really worth sharing at the moment. All right. I just had another meeting with the Wolf's Cry autocrats, and they are putting in lots of effort to try to make sure that everybody is safe and that we can kind of do this. What? Okay, Rolo. So I think that we are at the moment still moving forward with Wolf's Cry. The one big element that we're going to decide on at the next board of directors meeting is whether or not it's going to be a dry event. We are currently exploring kind of the issues of spacing with folks, as far as like running the bar and that kind of thing, and trying to mix masks and the ability to drink and, you know, not get everybody sick at once if they attend the event. So, you know, one of the ideas that we were kind of toying with was the idea of having straws, yeah, bendy straws with masks on still. So, I mean, that might be a thing that we have to go towards, or alternatively, if we really can't figure out the spacing and some other issues, we might have to make it a dry event, which would be somewhat unfortunate because, you know, a lot of people like to have that as an option, and but you know, we're aiming for safety here. Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. She was in on that meeting. You can't go to that meeting and then come boo when we give the news. Yeah, I know, the booze revenue, that's quite an issue. So we're trying not to make it a dry event, even though I'm super tempted to do it. But we are considering it's on the table. So if you guys have like insanely awesome suggestions on how to pull this off, or just curious what the logistical issues are, feel free to reach out to me, or Kraken is the autocrat of the event, and I believe Karen or Michelle Casey is in charge of the bar, so that she's kind of got that on her plate. You were there, Stephanie. Is there anything else you want to add about the Wolf's Cry and what we're talking about and worrying about or considering?
I do, really quick.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I wasn't there for that, but something I want to remind you guys about is like, we are not the state. You know, so a lot of folks have come to me and said like, hey, well, you know, like that's not even, you know, that's not required by the state. That's not required, you know, in stores, and we're not running off requirements. We're running off of safety. So this is less of like, hey, we're doing this because we can't do this. And we're doing this because we want to keep you guys safe. So just keep that in mind when we're coming out with these rules. And if we do decide to go for a dry event, we're not trying to stifle anyone. We're not trying to make the event less fun. That's the whole goal, is safety.
Really, yeah. The fundamental goal for me is I do not want AmpGuard to make the news as the next burst or pocket of where COVID-19 shows up. I want to keep us out of the news as far as that's concerned.
So, can I speak now?
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, out of that meeting, I think most of the crats have come up with a good plan of mitigating exposure, mitigating the closeness. Yes, of course, unfortunately, Feast and the Tavern are the biggest ones. And as Millerian said, if you have any ideas, any of us are more than welcome to listen. I'm gonna go do some research myself on ways we can hopefully open up the tavern a little bit more and keep people away without going into too much of the details right now. But yeah, those are the biggest concerns. And yeah, alcohol. I mean, if we get a bunch of Everclear, we could just self-sanitize and call it good, right? But so yeah, you'll see some changes. And as Abram did say, and we're not my thoughts and the plans that have come up with, they're not based to punish you. They're not based to make this not fun. I mean, I deal with this on a daily basis, and and a lot of the things and thought that's gone into this has been run by higher people above me, and I'm just bounce ideas off of them, saying, "Hey, these are the situations we're in. What do you think about this?" And then I get the feedback and go from there. So I do that. A lot of this is with you all in mind, and making sure you are all healthy and safe. And it would probably kill me to find out that we became the next cluster and everyone's exposed. And I don't want that. We don't need to be on the news. So I'm done now, Malarian.
All right. Thanks. I mean, with all that in mind, this might look like a very different Wolf's Cry event from previous years. So just keep that in mind as we move forward, assuming this all still comes together. I'm hoping it does, but assuming it comes together, just expect it to be a little different than it has been in the past. And, work with folks. We're doing the best we can. We're trying to keep everybody safe. All right. Anybody else have anything else about Wolf's Cry or about COVID-19? Cool. Oh, Boot. You just wanted to be unmuted. That's all this is. All right. You're unmuted.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Boot coming to you as the Night Quest Autocrat. If you guys are interested in playing a monster class or volunteering as a combat NPC for Friday night at Wolf's Cry, if you could please go ahead and send me a message either here on Discord or on Facebook. My name is April Hart. You probably see me talking everywhere. I would absolutely love to work with you. We do have a mitigation place and plan for makeup and masks, etc. And let's go ahead and try to make this a really memorable night quest despite the circumstances.
We're just going to hit you anyways, Ada. That's how it's going to go. All right. Thank you, Boot. All right. So next item on my list. We have an all thing item running right now that would change the way that we do votes and the way we count those votes. So if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It runs until tomorrow evening. I believe I set it at 6 p.m. tomorrow, I think. So cast your vote anytime between now and before then if you are a regular member. If you do not know if you're a regular member, Rolo can assist you with that. He'll probably delegate it down to your regional prime minister, but okay, I'm going to skip reading the thesis that was posted since it says at Puppet. Haha, Puppet. All right, moving on to the next item. So we still have, we're also still soliciting for volunteers for the Kingdom's Diversity and Inclusion Officer. Those applications will close June 13th. That's this coming Saturday. And if you have not already done so, please either message myself directly or send an email to akampguard@gmail.com. I believe I've gotten 2 submissions for that so far. So if, and I'm pretty sure I've chatted directly with both of those so they know that they're submitted. So if you haven't gotten like a confirmation from me for that application, make sure I reach out. So I've got 2 members, and that closes on Saturday for the Diversity and Inclusion Officer. All right, next item was the Northreach auction. A good number of you have already joined that group. I made a new separate group so that we can kind of keep everything organized, compartmentalized to a separate group with when the spam starts happening. And that spam is going to start happening this Sunday. And it's going to run for 2 weeks, the 14th of June through the 27th of June. And it runs very similar to what we've done for Food Fight in the past. And so take a look at those rules. If you find that group, if you have difficulty finding the group, there's an invite on the Kingdom page. On the Kingdom group on Facebook. And if you still can't find it, feel free to send me a message and I can get you a direct link or a direct invite. The auction rules are posted in there. The formatting for how we want those to work, also all in there. And the good news that I haven't updated the post with yet is that I now have access to make custom invoices. So as those auctions close out, I can basically send you a bill that you can pay online with your credit or debit card. If you decide to pay with a debit or credit card, I haven't implemented it 100% yet, but I think I'm going to try to add the processing fee on there so that we can try to mitigate some of that loss by using the online payment system. So just kind of watch for that. I'll try to put all those details once I have the final numbers of exactly what that fee is and making sure I can set that correctly to make it work right. But the basic idea is that you'll be able to either pay your prime ministers with cash in person to complete those transactions, or I'll be able to send you online bills, invoices to be paid online very easily. So any other CoC members have any questions or comments about that at the moment? And I want to thank, hasn't been called out yet. I unmuted Rain just now, but we want to thank Rain for stepping up and filling in for Frozen Coast this evening. Victor ended up getting tied up with other things, and Rain decided that he was able to volunteer and step up. So thank you for joining us this evening.
So to clarify on the auction, when it comes to items, that it's going to be similar to Food Fight. Like if we craft an item, it should be done before we put it up for auction. No promises of I will make you X, Y, and Z, etc.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid all those. So as a blanket statement in general, absolutely, that's 100% correct. There's been a few people that reached out that had particular scenarios where they were trying to do something special and with some guarantees and a bunch of prodding and a bunch of requirements that I'm putting on them. There are exceptions being made. So if you see something that goes up, you don't necessarily have to rat them out if it's not something that you think is following the rules. I'll try to go back in there and do like a hashtag approved kind of message to show that this person has talked to me and they've reached out. So there might be a few items that show up in there that aren't necessarily 100% completed.
What did we decide about food?
What about food?
Are we allowing people to make food, like make a pie and promise to, with just thinking out loud?
Yep. I did not see or hear of any decision that was made contrary to that. I saw one person express hesitancy in that category, but I didn't see a lot of motion or movement on that. So if people bid on items that are food items, understand where they came from and what potential risk that might be to anybody purchasing those or bidding on them. Be smart and think for yourselves, folks. I don't want to regulate everything into oblivion. If you want, I could say no food. That seems sad, though. Maybe I want a pie. Maybe I want 3 pies. Is anybody making pie?
I'm making pie.
There we go. All right. Any other questions, concerns about Northreach auction or any other items that have been on the agenda this evening? Or let's really just move on to the next item, and it is open to all populist questions and concerns. I think, okay, I'm not going to be able to read the entire thing because it's moving up. Yeah, now everybody wants pie. There was some internal discussion recently about BoD and CoC overlap and doing some kind of checks and balances on those. There's been some discussion on our end, on the internal end, about best practices and possibly reconsidering how we're structured. That's not something that we want to just split it up all of a sudden out of nowhere. So I think it's going to be something that needs to be explored and well thought out by folks. So we're heading towards kind of a reign change time. So it's probably not the best time to try to initiate an all thing, you know, in the next couple weeks. But if we, you know, if there's a group that looks at it and comes up with a plan, I mean, I would certainly be one that wants to explore that as a thing going forward. I just don't know if right this moment is the best time to do it. Yeah, exactly. Write something up, we'll read it. That's kind of the good summation of it. Are there any other questions or concerns for the open BoD meeting at the moment? All right. Looks like there's just a continuing conversation of the BoD/CoC overlap. Anything spicy? We're just, you know, if people don't have trucks, they're not allowed to come out anymore. If you lose your truck, you lose your slot. Oof. Yeah, I hope you feel better soon, man. Heal up. Lots of people are typing. So many that Discord won't even tell me how many are typing anymore. Yep, I think I remember Corin's stance on it as well. I'm sure we've talked about it in the past. I mean, ultimately, somebody will have to write up something, right? And we'll eventually all vote on it. So we'll all definitely, you know, this isn't going to sneak up on anyone, really. We're going to have a mass vote on it at some point. And it will require, you know, a hardy threshold before it gets made into law, as it were. Yeah, Puppet had super fun time today making phone calls, but thank you, Puppet, for doing what's best for everybody and making those calls, even if it ends up being, you know, preemptive or...
It sucked. Not a good day to be a monarch.
No, but thank you for doing it, doing the tough job. All right, well, with that, let's end this portion of the meeting for tonight. That'll be nice and quick. That gives us plenty of time to go do the super fun stuff on the other end. Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight. And hopefully we'll see some folks here on the weekend at some point. All right, thanks, guys. And I'm going to end this.